Good afternoon or morning or evening to all of you, depending on where you happen to be connecting from. I have to say we're really quite excited to be presenting this particular webinar today. Since our release of Cxc version 8.6, which was about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago now, we have had a tremendous amount of excitement generated by the Team Q module. It's really kind of a departure from what you might expect from a standard voicemail unified messaging system, and a very significant enhancement to the core functionality of the CX product. And we're very excited today to be delivering this information to you, and hopefully by the end of our time together, you will see that there may be some very significant uses for this within your particular environment. But for those that may not have joined one of our webinars before, this may be your first time, and say, who in the world is AVST? We've actually been around for a long time. We were actually one of the companies that helped invent voicemail back in the late 70s and early 80s. We have grown to be probably the leading independent manufacturer and developer of unified communications software within the corner of unified communications that we address. More than 20 million users worldwide, tens of thousands of customers, and are really broadly seen as having the most flexible, most interoperable, and really a best-of-breed solution, again, within the corner of unified communications that we deal with. The things that we look to deliver to the marketplace really has to do with helping customers solve their communications issues and problems that they may have, delivering solutions that allow businesses, individuals, and now extending that out into teams of individuals, some significant ways to enhance their productivity, enhance their availability, and their way of doing business. And not only for existing environments that we find within enterprises, but also being able to accommodate the evolution of those environments as things go on. And that's really core to us. We're an independent manufacturer. We're not owned by a PBX manufacturer. We don't make routers and switches and telephones and things. And it's really, our interoperability is really core to the solutions that we deliver to the marketplace. So whether it comes to replacing existing legacy voicemail, auto attendant solutions, IVRs, things like that, we can accommodate your existing environment regardless of what it looks like. And everything that we're going to see today is available to any of you, regardless of what type of PBX you have. Whether it's a brand new state-of-the-art, maybe you've deployed Microsoft Link or a Cisco or an Avaya or a Unify solution, or maybe you have a 25-year-old old Roam PBX that's sitting there and still chugging along. We are able to accommodate your existing environment as well as easily accommodate and facilitate the migration from legacy technology to the latest and greatest as things go on. We don't require you to make significant upgrades to your environment, and when those upgrades are required for whatever reason, we can accommodate those and allow a very smooth and easy transition from your existing technology to newer technology as things go on. And we have been long a leader in delivering next generation technologies and solutions to the marketplace. Virtually all of the advances, be they unified messaging, speech enablement, communication enablement of back-end business processes, things like that. As you look across the history of telecommunications, AVST has long been a leader in delivering cutting-edge solutions that really carry significant value to organizations, not just technology for technology's sake, but delivering true solutions that provide significant value to organizations and enterprises. So let's start taking a look at Team Q, the subject of our time together today. And as Team Q addresses a real need within many organizations. So if you take a look at what's available for you when it comes to distributing calls to multiple telephones, traditionally there have been two ways to do that. You take a look at what's available within the PBX by itself. And that's whether it's an Avaya PBX or a Cisco or a Roam or Siemens or Unify or even Link with its response groups. The traditional hunt groups within PBXs, they're free, generally within PBXs. They don't cost you anything to develop, but they don't do a whole lot. Generally, about all they do is distribute calls in a round-robin format to the telephones that are a member of a particular hunt group. Occasionally, some PBXs will allow you to overflow to another hunt group or something like that, but there's not a lot of sophistication to that. It rings to the first telephone. If it's not answered there, it goes to the second, to the third, to the fourth, skips the fifth because it's busy, and goes to the sixth. No statistical information on that, just strictly a round-robin distribution of the calls. So no cost involved, but very low function, and generally is not seen as very appealing for providing customer service to the people trying to get a hold of the people that are members of the group. On the other end of the spectrum, you have contact centers, the full-blown ACD contact center solutions that have a tremendous amount of sophistication to them. Things like skills-based routing, multiple group overflows, multiple group queuing, sophisticated priority setting of calls and of agent levels and skill levels, enough reports and statistical information coming out to choke a pig. I mean, just a tremendous amount of sophistication to those. But along with those, in contrast to hunt groups that are free, contact centers generally have a very significant price point associated with them. And that can range anywhere from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars per agent in order to deploy the contact solution, and a fair amount of sophistication to maintain those and make adjustments to them ongoing throughout the life of the solution. That leaves a very significant hole in the middle that up till now has not had a lot to fill it. Team Q fits right into that hole in the middle and fills it with a tremendous amount of the functionality that you find in the sophisticated call centers. Does it a little differently than you might be used to thinking about in the traditional contact center, call center environment, but does it for a small fraction of the cost. And as we get towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk about the costs involved in deploying the Team Q solution. And I think you'll be pretty amazed at where those price points fall. As you look at distributing calls to multiple workers, they really kind of fall into two, for our discussion today, they fall into two primary groups. What we call task workers. Those are people that come in, they sit down, and their job is exclusively to answer as many calls as possible throughout the course of the day. There's defined outcomes and parameters that they must operate in, and their goal is to get 20, 30, 40 calls answered and processed in an hour's period of time. And shaving 15 seconds off of a call is a goal of the people that run these contact centers filled with these task workers, because that has a significant cost savings to the organization to be able to just shave seconds off of calls and get them processed in and out quickly. But these people don't necessarily do anything more than answer a call and do a task. These are the people that answer the calls when you call an airline to make a reservation, or when you call Domino's Pizza to order your pizza for the basketball games this weekend. They're just there to take the calls, answer the calls, take your order, and hang up the call and get on to the next call. Knowledge workers are another group of people that often get lumped into the call center group, but they really have different needs. These are people that are information-holding people, solutions-providing people that they generally manage their own time often. They don't have specific defined outcomes like you need to get off of each call in an average of 1 minute and 30 seconds type of a thing. They manage their own workflow, things like that, and it, based on their interaction with the caller, requires them to draw on a cache of information to be able to deliver and solve the issues that are brought to bear by the callers calling in. And some of the general categories that are associated with these types of knowledge workers or collaborative teams, whether they're help desks, support groups, things like that, the order desks, these are the types of groups that at the end of the call, they're not just sitting there waiting for the next call. They may have minutes or hours even of work that they have to do based on the information that they receive from the caller. So they're managing their time a little more than the task workers that are generally associated with the contact center type of a model. And that's where Team Q comes in to help meet the requirements of those particular types of users. This is not designed for 1,000 agents sitting in a room with a computer in front of them. This is designed for smaller work groups, more of the informal call center type of a model. Now, as calls come into this, we can work in a traditional model where the call is pushed out automatically to the next person, and that's pretty ideal for groups where the people have essentially the same skill sets and are providing the same types of information. But for those that are more of a knowledge worker type, maybe an IT help desk or something along those lines, it may be a little bit better to use to give the agent more control over how to receive the calls. Maybe one agent is better working with the Office products as opposed to a SQL database. So if we can find and present information to them about what the particular caller is needing, maybe they can take better control and say, well, I'm an Office person, so I'll take the calls that have to do with the Office, even though they're all in the same group, and somebody else can see that a call's coming in for a SQL and pull that call out. And we can identify who's calling, provide information about who's calling to the agents, and give them the knowledge that they need in order to process the calls. So let's take a look at an example of a particular caller calling in and the flow that they will have and how this unique ability for us to give the power to the agents, the power to the team members to be able to handle calls, how that solution can provide significant benefits to your callers and the people calling into these groups. So we have a caller here calling in, calls into the system. It's answered by the CX system, and it's designated based on the number, the telephone number that they call, or on a selection that they make through a normal auto-attendant call processing menu. We identify them as a call that wants to go into a particular group, a particular team. We play an announcement message for them. We can start querying them for information about the purpose of their call. And everything we're going to talk about here for the next few slides is configurable on a team-by-team basis. So this looks like it's going into a help desk, maybe an IT help desk or something along those lines, because we're asking maybe for an account number, some sort, maybe an employee identification number, for example, asking what operating system that they are in. But each of these queries and information we're providing to the caller can be configured on a team-by-team basis, whether you want to include querying the caller for one or any of these, or how much information we're going to provide to the caller as they get into queue. So the caller calls in, they enter their customer number, their account number, identification number. They are identifying that this particular caller is calling in for a Linux issue. We take all of that information, and we can make that information available and interact with external databases to grab information. So, for example, in this case, we want to know if we're going to be able to provide that customer service, what type of service contract they have. So in this example, we're taking the account number and going off to an external database, querying that number to that external database, finding out the support contract, and bringing that information back into the application, and we can display that information if desired to the agents. Whether that's a support plan information, maybe we pull the caller's name based on their account number and display that information. But interacting with the external database to validate information, pull additional information which can be displayed to the agents. We can then inform the caller of their place in queue. How many callers are waiting for them? How many calls are in front of them that are waiting for queue? What their estimated time is to answer, and then give them options. And again, this is fully configurable on a team-by-team basis, what information you're asking the caller and what options you want to give them. But in this case, we're saying they can press 1 to stay in queue. They can go leave a message. They can press 3 to request a callback, which maintains their place in queue, but they can hang up and go on their way. And when their time comes up, the system can place a call back to them. So the call drops down into queue. And we see the other two callers that are waiting there. They're calling about Windows issues. He's calling about a Linux issue. And they're dropped into queue, and we have agents. And so we have these three callers in queue. We have how long they've been in queue waiting to be answered. And you can see he's the last in the line. But one of the unique things that we have the ability to do is for the agents, we can, like I said, be able to push the call out to agents as they become available. But this group is set up in the poll mode, where the agents can view the information about the caller and pull the call that they want to. So Agent 1 sees that one call is a Linux call. He doesn't even like Windows, never uses it, so he wants to just handle the Linux calls. So he pulls that Linux call down to him, even though it wasn't necessarily the longest call in queue. The pull method gives you the ability to do that, and of course that allows your agents to answer the calls by which they have the most experience and are most able to answer and take care of quickly, obviously providing significant levels of additional customer service to your callers, excuse me. When that agent gets done, they decide when it's time for them to be back available to take calls. They can enter into a wrap-up mode, for example, something like that, or identify themselves as being doing additional research on a call. The types of states that users can be in is programmable, again, that the different teams can use in order to identify what status that they happen to be in. So a number of features that kind of look a little bit like traditional call center, but gives the agents a little more control, if you want to be able to take the calls that are most appropriate for them to take, and which can give you a much higher degree of customer service, get the calls answered and taken care of in a much more expeditious manner. The functionality, all of this, another way that this differs a little bit from traditional contact center and call center environments is we have a client application that runs, it's a Windows-based client application, runs on the agent's workstation, and allows them to do all of the interaction with the calls that are coming into the particular group. You can see we're looking at Tom G's screen here. This is his desktop. Notice Tom's a member of multiple groups, the help desk and the orders group, and happens to be on a call in the orders group. A couple of things that they're able to do. They can agents can redirect calls either to another group, redirect them in to take a message. So if you know you're going to be on a call for a long period of time and you're not going to be able to get to the caller, you can just redirect them to voicemail immediately. Of course, you can offer the caller at various points within the queue while they're waiting to continue in queue, or go to voicemail and leave a message, or go back and make an entirely different selection, things like that. But kind of a cool thing here that we have is Tom's on this call. He's been on the call for quite a while in the orders department, but he sees Bill calling in with a network issue. And as he glances at his screen, he says, man, I talked to Bill yesterday about a network problem. I told him to go do a couple of things. I'll bet he's calling back to tell me what the result of that was. So rather than having Bill spend 20 minutes explaining to Mark what his problem was, he says, I already know what the problem was. I know what I told him to do. He then would go down, highlight Bill, and click hold, which will reserve Bill's call for him. So as soon as he gets done with this order, he can go over and take that call, and the other agents will know that that call is reserved for him. Again, increasing caller satisfaction with the level of service that we're able to provide for their needs. There's a supervisor screen available that supervisors can take a look at the agent's status, what they're doing. Are they idle? Are they connected to a call? Are they busy? Are they in wrap-up? Notice Carol is listed as on a break, and the time that they're in. We keep statistics on the calls and on the agent activity, and every event that the agent does in interaction with the application will trigger a different event in here. And you notice we see that agent 2346 is waiting to take a call. The call's being delivered to them. They're on the call. They enter into wrap-up mode. Now they're taking another call. They're connected to that call. Go into wrap-up mode. A full level of statistics that are kept, which we have a nice graphical interface to view. All of that data is also kept in common CSV files, so you can bring that data into other database manipulating environments like Excel, into a SQL database or another type of program to manipulate it any way you want and consolidate information in the way that's appropriate for you. Same thing with the call log, looking at the statistics from a call point of view as opposed to an agent point of view. All of that information is also kept within CSV files, so you can manipulate that in whatever way is appropriate for you. So let's take a look at how this is built out. What are the components that are involved? Does it require extensive CTI linkage to the PBX, things like that? So the Cxc is commonly deployed. We can be deployed into any PBX environment. As I said, from a 20-year-old Nortel Meridian PBX all the way up to the latest and greatest Lync, Skype for Business, Cisco, Avaya, Unify, Alcatel PBX to do normal call processing, automated attendant. TeamQ is an integrated module of the Cxc platform. It requires no CTI link to the PBX itself. And it kind of looks like this as you do it. The agent does all of their interaction with the client application. So to make themselves available for calls, if you're in the push mode, they can just say, next call. Or if they're in the poll mode, the next call will just take the one that's oldest in queue. Or they can highlight a call and click the Take Call button. All of their interaction with the TeamQ application and all of the routing of calls and their status is maintained by their interaction with the client application. As a call is being accepted, the Team Q application on the CX system also handles all of the interactions with external database information, things like that. We just simply transfer that call to the desired telephone. And you notice up here we say connects to any PBX, connects to any telephone as well. This can be a PBX extension. It could be your cell phone if you want to take calls while you're sitting at Starbucks, or if you have agents that work in a home office. This could be their home office telephone number. It doesn't have to be a PBX extension. So your call center, your contact center, your Team Q deployment can support not only local agents that are sitting at a desk with a PBX extension on their right there. It can also support remote agents, at-home agents, things like that. Whatever is appropriate for your environment, we can support. It's just a matter of the CX system transferring to the desired telephone number for that particular agent. So, looking at a call flow from a little different perspective here, welcome to the Dynacom help desk. You're the 5th caller in queue. Average time to answer is 1 minute and 45 seconds. And giving them the options to stay in queue, leave a message. Once they decide to stay in queue, again, the employee number, all of the things we looked at before in the call flow that we looked at one other time. Another unique thing is once the caller decides to stay in queue, and once the call is delivered to the agent, we can also reach out into an external application and provide a screen pop. And this will vary, our ability to do this will vary somewhat based on what types of applications we're interacting with, what tools are available within that application to pop screens that are populated. But as a call comes in, once the caller requests the call to take the call, or even before, they can just right-click on any of these calls, and they can right-click on the call, and underneath that, within that menu of options, notice they have the take call, hold, leave a message, redirect, all of those duplicating the buttons that are here. They also have an additional selection, which is a linkage out to an external application, which can obviously support the input of variables to be able to provide information back to the application, or to be able to pop a screen at the user's desktop as the call is being delivered to them. Again, it's an interaction with the application. It's not an automatic screen pop, but it gives you the same type of functionality, again, keeping the agent in control of how it is, because we're really targeting a different group of call center type of agents rather than just the task worker that's just taking calls and hammering away at the calls themselves. Now, one of the great things about the Team Q application, obviously a tremendous amount of functionality and is provided by the application, as we've seen, all the way from, giving the queue status and estimated time to wait, gathering information from the caller, gathering additional information from external databases, things like that. The tremendous amount of functionality that's available to it. But one of the things that grabs a lot of people's attention, but what really cements it in their minds and gets people really excited is the cost of the solution. Now, one of the modules available on Cxc Platform is UC Connect. This is an advanced API that allows you to develop, provide a communication enablement to back-end business processes, allowing you to create custom applications to meet specific users, specific business application requirements. It also allows you to develop full IVR applications as well. Team Q is actually built as kind of a shrink-wrapped UC Connect application. And as you can see, it requires the UC Connect to be licensed on your Cxc platform. But once that's in there and going, the cost per agent and for supervisors is dramatically less than the hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars that is required for a full-blown call center. So does it have all the bells and whistles and sophistication of a full-blown call center? No, in reality it really doesn't. But it provides a significant level of that functionality and even some unique advantages over that functionality. The ability to have the calls being pulled, to manually do screen pops, things like that, manually request a screen to be popped, those types of things which oftentimes are not found in traditional contact center environments for obviously a fraction of the price. So instead of hundreds or thousands of dollars, $50 a pop per agent to do it, there's no additional licensing required on the CX system itself. Obviously, as calls come in, they are queued on CX ports, so the use of TeamQ may require you to expand the ports available on your CX system, but beyond being able to accommodate the normal incoming call traffic, this is the only licensing that's required on the CX system itself. And as Ann mentioned at the beginning, there's a white paper that was done by an independent UC analyst, Jay Lassman, very well known, that took an evaluation of TeamQ as it relates to the functionality and costs associated with full-blown contact centers and call centers. And we're going to make this full white paper available to you at the end of this call. But as you can see, dramatic difference in the cost per agent, monthly cost per agent, to deploy TeamQ versus deploying a full-blown contact center or full-blown formal call center. Now, once again, we're not in the business to displace full-blown contact centers and call centers for the applications where they're required. That's not the niche that we're shooting for. The niche is to fill that gap between the full-blown contact centers and the very basic, low-functionality hunt groups that are available within PBX systems themselves. So we're finding that this is, like I said, this is generating a tremendous amount of excitement in the marketplace. Providing the level of functionality that's being provided by TeamQ at such a low price point is really getting a lot of customers excited. And we're talking to tremendous customers from small organizations that just have a few employees that need this, to larger organizations with tens of thousands of employees where they have specific groups within there that really need this level of functionality but don't really want to spend all the money to expand or deploy a call center to make that happen. And as I mentioned, this is all built upon the Cxc Platform itself. The Cxc Platform is the most sophisticated and flexible and interoperable messaging call processing UC solution on the marketplace today. There's not another solution that comes close to, on a single platform, single fully unified, integrated platform, providing this level of functionality from traditional applications of voicemail, auto attendant, to very sophisticated advanced mobility applications, allowing your mobile employees to get connected to what they need and to be connected to by people trying to get a hold of them in very sophisticated ways, keeping track of where they are, what they're doing, and allowing calls to be delivered to them in the most expeditious manner. And then other extensibility type functions that we have, whether it's IVR applications, outbound broadcast outcall notification applications, sophisticated faxing applications, partnership with WriteFax. And again, this is all built on the foundation of interoperability, which is there's no other platform in the marketplace that comes close to delivering the interoperability that's available on the CX platform. It doesn't matter what your environment looks like today, what it's going to look like tomorrow. CX puts you in a unique position to be able to accommodate that today, deliver everything we've talked about today and so much more, and to be able to accommodate changes to your environment. The old saying, the only thing consistent in life is change. And the ability of the CX platform to accommodate changes within your environment is unique and unrivaled in the industry. So that's Team Q. We'd like to open it up now for questions, and so we'll call back Ann and see what kind of questions we have in the queue.
Great, thanks. So just as a reminder, if you have a question to type in, you probably have the panel minimized. Use the orange arrow in the upper corner, and then you should see the question pane toward the bottom there. And also, just if you joined a minute or two late, just to let you know, we will send out an email with the PowerPoint as well as the white paper that Dick just mentioned, so we'll get you copies of those. First question, so Dick, how does TeamQ affect the ports on the Cxc?
Yeah, I bet you that was sent on earlier in the presentation. We discussed that a little bit towards the end. It certainly can it certainly can have a more heavy utilization of the ports because as the calls are received and by the CX system and go through the process of interviewing with the Team Q application and being in queue prior to being connected to an agent, they are utilizing a CX port. Once the call is delivered to the agent, though, it's important to note that that port is freed up, and that port is available for additional calls as they come in. But obviously, as calls sit in queue, they're on a CX port, so based on the port utilization, if this is an existing if you're an existing CX customer, we need to obviously take a look at your existing port utilization and see how that would be impacted with the deployment of Team Q. If you're not an AVST customer today, we certainly will take your interest in Team Q into consideration as we size the system to replace your existing messaging platform itself. But yes, it certainly can have an impact on that because calls are sitting in queue on CX ports, and but we certainly take that into consideration as we size your system and evaluate your needs.
Okay, so can you explain what the reporting tools are for Team Q?
Yeah, well, we saw them before. Today they're fairly basic. Again, this came out with our last release, which was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So what we saw before, it obviously is quite basic here. As we see here, there's just the display within this application of not only the agent log but the call log that shows basic statistical information on what's happening. But as I mentioned, all of that information is available in CSV files on the CX platform. So if you want more than just the basic display information here, just essentially taking that CSV information and putting it into a nice, pretty table here, you can certainly take that CSV file information and utilize whatever tools that you want, whether it's just bring it into an Excel spreadsheet or bring it into other reporting and data manipulation tools that you may have to format the information in whatever format you want to see it in.
Okay, thanks. Next question. So, how many ACD positions does this support?
Well, we can support up to 250 agents. Licenses on the system and up to 50 supervisor licenses. Included in the supervisor license is also agent functionality. So a total of 300 active agents can be available on the system at any given time, and we can have a total of I believe it's 50 teams in the system that's supported. So 250 total agents, 50 supervisors, and 50 teams that can be defined on the system.
Okay, looks like another question, a follow-on question on the port. So It says when the agent takes the call from Team Q, we're assuming that is it 2-port usage, one on the CX and then one for the caller and one for the agent?
No, actually, as the call is in queue, the call is taking it. As the call is in queue and waiting to be answered, the call is using one CX port. But as soon as the agent requests that the call be transferred to them, the CX will initiate a transfer through the PBX and send the caller over to the agent. And again, that can be to a PBX extension, to an external number, or whatever. And as soon as that transfer is completed, that port is available for another call. So the caller is not tying up any ports on the CX system while they're talking to an agent. So say they're in queue for 30 seconds and they're talking to an agent for 5 minutes. Out of that 5.5 minutes total that the call was active on the PBX, it was only tying up a CX port for 30 seconds, the time that it was waiting in queue prior to being answered by the agent.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, next question. Does Team Q run on the same server as the CXC or a dedicated server?
Nope, it's on the same server, so you don't have to deploy additional servers to utilize this. The use of Team Q does not have a negative impact on the overall sizing of a CX system, so there's no additional well, there obviously is additional administrative screens for the building of the queues, things like that, but it doesn't require additional servers and be they physical or virtual. It's all a fully integrated module of the CX platform itself.
Okay, so do you have the ability to use speech commands when the caller is calling in as well as the DTMF?
Yeah, today it's DTMF only. Again, this is initial release of Team Q. With each new release of CX-based software, you're going to see some additions to the functionality of Team Q as we receive input from our customers. But today it's the interaction with the caller in the Team Q querying process is DTMF only today.
Okay. Thank you. Next question, is Team Q brandable? I guess maybe that's a rebranding question. I don't know if the customer might want to rebrand it.
Yeah, we'll probably need to take that one offline and talk with that particular questioner to see what their specific needs are, and then get them, take that in through the process right now. But that'd probably be best to be taken offline.
Okay. Okay, another question. This is about the screen pops. So we have SAP. Are presented SAP via Citrix to the subsidiary. Can the optional screen pops work? This may be one that we need to take.
Well, that was a mouthful.
Does it work via Citrix? Yeah. Here's the question. Sorry, a little background. Do the optional screen pops work via Citrix, or would we need the SAP client software installed?
Yeah, well, that's and I'm not going to, and I apologize. Based on that limited information, I really can't answer your specific question right now. What I will say is, what is required may vary based on your particular environment, how your environment is set up, what particular data. I know you defined a little bit about your environment, but based on how your environment is set up, what type of database or applications we're linking to, and things like that, and that's going to be a different answer, and how it's set up is going to be a different answer for each and every customer based on all of those parameters and probably a couple of more. So what we will do, we can certainly take that offline and talk to you individually about your particular requirements, and anybody else that may have some questions along those lines. We'd be happy to spend some time with you talking about your specific environments and digging down a couple of shovelful deeper than what we can right here on this in this type of an environment here. But we can certainly contact you and carry on that discussion a little bit further with you.
Okay, that's great. And just so everyone knows, as you're typing in your questions, we always route the questions around internally. So Dick will get a copy of who's asking what questions, and we always make sure we follow up even if we feel like we did answer your question fully. So we'll make sure that we do follow up on these. Let's see, next question. So for the agent, do they need some sort of integration with the phone system, most likely SIP? Is that correct?
No, actually, you can have a 20-year-old Nortel Meridian PBX or Toshiba key system from 1990 if you wanted, and all the functionality we have here, it works fine. There's no special requirement to the telephone system. If you remember the drawing that we had up, and I'll see if I can pull it up here real quickly for you, is the interaction with the application is directly between the application and the Team Q module of CX. The calls are answered on the PBX, on the CX from the PBX, and then transferred through the PBX to the telephone. So what type of telephone this is makes absolutely no difference to us. It can be a PBX extension. Like I said, it could be your mobile phone. You log on at Starbucks if you want to, if that's appropriate. Make a VPN connection into your network so that the application can make a connection to the Team Q application on the CX server. And when you click that you want to take a particular call, you just tell the application that you want it sent out to your cell phone, and we'll deliver that out to your cell phone. So the type of telephone makes absolutely no difference in any of the functionality that we've just described today. It works in whatever PBX and telephony environment you have, and it works with local agents running off that PBX or remote agents working off of their cell phone, a home office telephone, whatever. All of that makes no difference to the application. Remember, the agent's interaction and the processing of calls occurs based on the agent interacting with the application, which talks to the Team Q application and instructs the Team Q application what to do.
Okay, so it looks like a follow-on question to what you just covered. So from where is the agent's transfer to number derived? Is it device ID? Can the agent enter the number ad hoc?
Yes, so when you log into the Team Q application, we have a log-on screen where we ask you to identify yourself because the licensing is assigned to each agent individually. So when you log on with your ID and password into the application, and you can enter in the telephone number to which you want calls transferred, and that could be the same number that you use each day. So that number will be pre-populated on there for the extension to transfer to. But if you normally work at your desk in the office, but you're working from home today, maybe you woke up and, as we've seen across the country today, there's a foot of snow on the ground and no one's going anywhere. You can just take your laptop, open it up, log in a VPN connection to your network, and as you log in, you just identify your home office telephone number as the number to transfer calls. It opens up the application. Now when you click the Take Call button for a call to be transferred to you, it's now going to your home office number.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, and actually just an add-on to that, we actually we have our internal tech support department using this, and they are located all over the place. There's a guy in the UK office, several remote employees, and they're all able to use it, and they're ringing their home phone, cell phone, however that works. So
that's a great point. Thanks.
Yeah. So let's see. Next question. So does the agent have to indicate to the app that the current call has ended and then ask for the next call? Yep. I think you covered this a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great point. Remember, there's no CTI link that is between the CX and the PBX. So we don't have any way of knowing that you're on hook, off hook, or whatever's happened. The CX doesn't have any view of the call specifically itself because it's not on the CX ports, so we don't know when that call is disconnected. So again, all of the interaction and all of the call routing and agent availability is done through the app. So as an agent finishes a call, when they're on a call, the buttons will change based on whether they're on a call, things like that. and allow the agent to indicate, okay, I finished that call, I'm going into a wrap-up mode, or I finished that call, I'm ready to take another call. Things like that. All of it is done through interaction with the client application. That's why I said at the beginning, it's a little bit of a gear shift as to how traditional call centers operate. But because we don't have to develop that CTI link to the PBX and maintain that as new releases of the PBX come out and everything like that, is the reason we can charge $50 an agent instead of $500 an agent or $2,000 an agent, because we're relying on the agent, who traditionally will be a knowledge worker, to be able to indicate their readiness to take calls, what their status is, and things like that.
Okay, next question. So can the agent logon be based on Active Directory credentials?
Yeah, so right now the agent login is based on their CX mailbox number and the password to that mailbox number, because the assignment of the license is done based on that information. So today there's not a direct linkage within Team Q to Active Directory. Will we support single sign-on in the future? Maybe we will. We'll have to wait and see what the demand is for that type of functionality.
Okay, next question. Is the Team Q app, is it Windows-based only?
Today it is. Will we support other operating systems, like bring out a Mac client or something like that? We're just going to have to wait to see. It's all going to be based on demand. If we suddenly have 100 customers that are requesting Mac clients for Team Q, that will obviously hold some weight with us. Web-based clients, things like that. All of that is going to be based on what we hear from our customers. So right now it is Windows only.
Okay, another question. Can Team Q restrict the number of calls held in queue for each group?
Yeah, so you can set limits as to the number of calls that are in queue, and say if there's 5 calls in queue, don't give the caller the option to select. Press 1 to hold for an agent, 2 to leave a message, 3 for a callback. We may only offer we might just take them to a mailbox that says, sorry you've had to wait in queue for so long, or sorry we can't take your call right now, leave a message and we'll call you back, or automatically trigger the callback selection, things like that. You have the ability to set parameters like that on a team-by-team basis. Okay.
Is there any point where a single call would be taking up 2 ports, such as connecting to the external device?
Never. It's always only on the single port on which it is queued. As soon as the call is being transferred to the agent, that transfer is done off of that same port. We never tie up 2 ports with any call that comes into Team Q.
Okay, and then for calls in queue, can they be overflowed to another group after a certain time period?
Sure can. There's lots of other features that we didn't get time to talk about today, but certainly you can overflow to other groups. You notice we had that redirect button, so an agent can request a call to be redirected. You can program the team to automatically redirect based on how long they've been in queue, based on how many calls are in queue when the call arrives, any number of different parameters like that.
Okay, great. So it looks like that wraps up the questions. There were obviously a couple that we said we would take offline. There's 1 or 2 others that looked pretty detailed to me, so I did not ask those. We'll take those offline as well. And if you have any questions in the future, or you think of something as soon as you hang up, you're always welcome to email us at info@avst.com. We do route those to the appropriate person, and like I mentioned earlier, we'll certainly route the questions internally, whether we answered them or not, and make sure that you get a follow-up to make sure that that those were handled appropriately. And we certainly want to thank you for taking the time to join us on today's webinar, and we'll hope that you'll make it on another of our webinars very soon. And thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, and thanks, Dick, for presenting.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.